All right, good evening. It's 6 p.m. and I'd like to call to order the January 28th, 2020 Beal Early Childhood Center Building Committee meeting. First on the agenda is our minutes from January 14th, 2020. Are there any changes or corrections?
Chair, I have one correction. I think Mr. Hartley's name might be missing a letter just in the last time it's mentioned.
Okay. All right. May I have a motion to accept the amended minutes for January 14th, 2020?
So moved.
Second. Second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. We have no bills, schedules, or warrants this evening. Next is the reports. Review and act on the following matters. We'll have a report from the owner's project manager.
So nothing to report on project financials. We haven't received any bills to date for this month, so we'll have them for the next building committee meeting. Our only item will be item 5 for the GMPs.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Next, any reports from the architect?
Similar, we continue to support the process for the project. There is a furniture fair coming up on February 5th at Beal, existing Beal school, so that's always exciting to see the opportunities for the furniture coming forward and being selected. Progress at the site looks great. Lots of steel, lots going on.
Second history wall meetings.
Second history, yes, so second history wall meeting. We continue with the LEED certification process, which is relevant to the 2% additional reimbursement points that we've been all partnering on that. We have a monthly call for that scheduled now. And so we have a whole variety of things that we continue to pursue. All is going well.
Going well, good, great. Next, a report from the construction manager.
So we are, as you drive up Lake Street, you'll notice that the steel is going at a pretty good pace. There's 3 buildings, A, B, C, B, and C should be done the end of next week. We'll be moving into, actually the end of this week, we'll be moving into A the following week, and we're meeting with your STEM team on Monday, 3:45 at the site, give them a tour. Utilities are going, job is going very well.
Excellent, great. Any questions or comments before we move on? No. There being none? Okay, next, number 5, review and act to authorize for the guaranteed maximum price for the construction manager of Fontaine Brothers, Inc. I'll turn it over to Walter.
Perfect. So over the past 4 months, I'd say, maybe 5, Fontaine has been working with their subcontractors, the non-filing trades, to come up with costs for scope items that'll be the remaining portion of the buyout for the Beal School. They've been meeting independently with those guys to develop what we're calling scope holds for those. And what we've done as a project team over the last month or so is review the final amendment for the GMP, which includes those scope holds. So just some brief history. Where we started, the voter-approved schematic design budget was $74,111,830. We then moved to a design development budget of $74,107,329. We were trending slightly under budget at that point. At the 60% estimates, we were $73,495,681. A little over $500,000 under budget, so $616,149. At our last round of estimates, the 90% construction documents, we were at $72.99 million, and that was a variance or a rough savings of $1.13 million. As we moved through the project, we've had the original contracts for pre-construction at $286,000. Amendment 1 was our buyout for demolition and abatement and the site work portion of the scope for $12,518,836. Amendment 2 was for the concrete package as well as the structural steel in the amount of $8,717,962. Amendment 3 was our most recent amendment. It was the filed trade bids. Those were right where we expected them. I'm sorry, they were slightly under. where we expected them to be. And that amendment was for $24,471,053, which brings us to Amendment 4 and the total GMP. What the GMP is based upon is those amendments, the pre-construction contract, the contract documents, which are Exhibit A. It's a list of the project documents, and by submitting this GMP, Fontaine is stating that they feel that we've carried enough money in the guaranteed maximum price to cover, and that LPA has detailed well enough to cover the entire scope that's in the specifications and on the drawings. Exhibit B is a list of allowances. All of the allowances are included in this amendment from Amendments 1 and 3. It also includes new allowances for Amendment 4. What allowances are items that cannot be easily defined, but we feel that carrying money for scopes that are undefined is a beneficial item to the project. There's always types of, I don't want to say missed buyout, but it's one of the better ways to describe it. You know, there's one certain thing that a contractor might not have carried in their bid, but we have a bucket to carry the money in. These allowances, two of the larger allowances that we're carrying at this point in time are for a sidewalk from Hialeah to the project site for safe access to the school, as well as sewer line tie-in from the southwest elevation of the site back to, I always forget the name of the street. Hillside Drive. So those are just two of the allowances that we're carrying. There are a few other ones that we're carrying as well. Some IT clarifications on the scope, some ASIs that were issued. And the way an allowance works is that if there's an overrun of an allowance, the allowance would be funded from owner contingency because it couldn't be anticipated that Fontaine would be able to know what that scope was. Similarly, an underrun of an allowance is returned to CM contingency. The next step past that would be that CM contingency is then returned to the town at the end of the project, if not spent. So I'll keep going. If you guys have any questions, you can stop me at any time. Exhibit C is the list of scope holds. So all the holds for Amendments 1 through 3 were included in that, and then the final holds, there's about, I want to say 29 items that were carried as holds. This is a drywall package, millwork package, furnish and install for the millwork, landscaping, the well. It's quite a big list of scopes. We've actually, as a project team, already started to de-scope the low bids on those scopes. So Fontaine, over the last 4 months, the way they developed those numbers was to work with 4 to 8 contractors to develop a number based on the drawings, based on the specifications. And what we'll do going forward, pending the acceptance or approval of the GMP, would be continue the de-scope meetings. Fontaine would then provide a buy authorization request to PMA and LPA. We'd review that, and hopefully we wouldn't have very many questions because we've joined them in a de-scope meeting for it. We review it and then put a cover letter on it and have Kevin execute it when he's on site, or if we need one faster, we can hop over here, it's not far. But we feel that the scope holds that have been carried are inclusive and should not exceed the value pending a very, very unforeseen condition that we don't know about. But in the event of that, included in the GMP is a GMP contingency or construction contingency bucket. Fontaine carries this as a insurance to the scope holds, and even going forward on other scopes that we may have bought previously that, you know, an unforeseen condition arises. If there's an overrun or an underrun of any of the scope holds, it does come out of the GMP contingency buyout. The GMP contingency. If there's a savings at the end of the project, it is returned to that GMP contingency. Can be utilized. I don't foresee a situation where we have overruns everywhere and then we are then spending, we have underruns on the buyouts and then we're spending GMP contingency. So it is more than likely that we will wait till the end of the project for any type of savings or underruns to be transferred into GMP, and then ultimately, those also get returned to the town as well, the same as the the owner contingency. Exhibit D is a list of assumptions, qualifications, and clarifications. There are not many on this project. A lot of them had to do with soil. They're carried forward. But we have vetted these very carefully with Fontaine, with LPA, based on project history, and feel comfortable with these assumptions, qualifications, and clarifications. Exhibit E is the CPM baseline schedule, update 2, Rev 1. Fontaine is adhering to that schedule, if not exceeding it at this point. So we're happy to say that all the subs are buying into that schedule. Very happy with it. Exhibit F is the summary of costs. It identifies everything that's being proposed in the GMP and where it is in the buckets of the divisions, so the CSI divisions. Exhibit G is a list of alternate prices. Right now we are not carrying any. We did not have any in the specifications, not necessary. Exhibit H is the schedule of unit prices. Unit prices from Amendment 3 were included. That had soil, steel, and concrete. There are no new unit prices for Amendment 4. Exhibit I is a list of the general requirements. These general requirements were carried by Fontaine in their initial proposal. Some of them were carried as items to be negotiated at the time of GMP. What PMA has done, along with input from LPA, is identify which of these items are going to be carried as allowances in that general requirement. So what that means is Fontaine would bill against them only what they spend against them. And the reason for that would be if there's and what we've done is work to get the winter conditions carried as that. Knock on wood, we hope that there's no huge issue where we're ground heating for the next 4 months, 5 months. But it would be unfair to Fontaine to have them carry that risk. Again, it's going to be returned as savings if it's not spent. But it's just a very tough thing for someone to put a number on comfortably. The other items would be billed as lump sum on a monthly basis. Fontaine would be out there. These are laborers, some carpenters, and then other stuff to complete the job as a CM, barricades, fuel, different items like that. So in summary, the GMP, the guaranteed maximum price, comes to a total of $72,640,605. The value that you'd be comparing this to would be the voter-approved budget, and it is $1,471,225 lower than that $74,111,830. So PMA feels very comfortable in this number. I believe LPA also feels comfortable with this number. Fontaine is very comfortable with this number. And we would recommend that the GMP be executed for the amounts. And I'll open up to any questions from anyone on the committee.
And sure, Kevin? No? I was going to say if Katie or Dave or Frank have anything before we move to the committee. Okay. Kevin?
So, Walter, just a question for clarification purposes. Have we spent any contingency for this project to date?
No.
Okay, good. So, just a couple comments then. So, what I really think, we see coming to fruition at this point with the establishment of the GMP is, I think, two things. One was a properly priced cost for this project that the voters in Shrewsbury overwhelmingly supported, when they voted on it. And a unique situation where the benefits of the CM at risk process are actually paying off and coming to fruition. And it puts us in, I think, an uncomfortable position where, in some ways, for the seats that we sit in most days, where, we were conservative with the cost estimate, we chose the right procurement method, and we're under budget. And throughout the entire project, because of the skills that, you all have, we never had a situation where we needed to do some value engineering and never pulled anything out. But we've always promised the voters in town a complete project. So at this point, we're saying, to make a complete project, there's a couple scope holds that we want to place into the project at this point in time, and still are able to say we're $1.6 million under budget. That's kind of a that's kind of more than a trifecta of perfect things aligning. So very, very happy and very pleased with where we are with this project from a financial standpoint and a project execution standpoint by all parties. So thank you.
I'd like to add that that's also a testament to LPA and what they've heard from the representatives of Shrewsbury and being able to incorporate a cost-effective design into those drawings. So there was nothing that was value engineered out other than what was said that the town desired in those buildings, and LPA and Fontaine, for that matter, did a great job.
Excellent. Anyone else? Dr. Stoll?
I agree with Mr. Mizikar, and I think that this is a prudent approach to take. I think that the fact that we're coming in well over about $1.5 million under budget, with also having those scope holds is really important. Allowances are important. There's some small things embedded in there to make sure that we have what we need relative to some of the costs the MSBA has in there. What they allow for things like technology and furniture and equipment and things of that nature hasn't really kept up with inflation. We know that other projects around the state are coming in over with that, so it makes sure that we get what we need. But it's what we need, and really this is, we continue to appreciate working with Leonard Pagano and PMA, and of course now with Fontaine Brothers, to make sure that we're getting what we need to have a cost-effective, high-value project, because it would make no sense, of course, to spend this level of town funds and taxpayer dollars, both local and state taxpayer dollars, and not do it right. So I feel very confident and comfortable, just as we did with our last project with the Sherwood Middle School, as the town did with the library, doing something that is very fiscally responsible, yet providing a really high degree of value for a long period of time for the town. So I certainly support this as well.
I did have one thing to add. We did have the MSBA in on Wednesday for a site visit, and one thing that he noted that would be asked when we did submit the GMP, the 1.471225, that savings, the MSBA would be taking their portion of that. They did ask the town that to think about what they'll be wanting to do with that. We can put that into owner contingency, and that's not an issue, but that is a decision that will have to be made in the next couple weeks. Probably not before our next building committee meeting, but something to think about, and we've typically seen it go to owner contingency. So.
Just one thing, I forgot to mention that, just to my fellow committee members, that, as we look at these scope holds, not only would PMA and LPA and Fontaine be updating us at the monthly meetings, but, I will not be just executing any scope on them. We'll be coming back to the committee and asking for your vote. I don't see anything from a timing standpoint needing to occur, so quickly on those different scope holds that we couldn't wait till your next meeting. So those will all be coming back to you as well.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, any comments?
Any real quick?
Chris?
Just to drill down a little bit to kind of this message of being fiscally responsible but providing great product, connecting back to the furniture expo that we are having, and having conversations with our consultant who is sharing the same message and coming in, being very respectful of our budget and being very respectful of what we see as being, quality products that is responsible and serves our students really well. So even just drilling down to that level of thinking, I give LPA a lot of credit for having that message go throughout all of what they're doing.
Mr. Collins?
I just wanted to be clear about a couple of things. One is that the $1.47 million savings, if you will, from the construction component of this whole project is certainly a great place to be in. And then you mentioned that there's a construction contingency of 2%, so that what's carried in the guaranteed maximum price implicit in there is $1.45 million in construction contingency for those things that you said might go up or down as the construction continues.
Yep.
And that, in addition to that, there's a separate pot of money, which is the owner's contingency that we're still carrying.
Correct.
So we seem to be in a really solid position financially.
I would agree.
Anyone else? No, I think it's good news, and tends to be a hallmark of this community, our projects, working with professionals like yourselves, doing really good work and doing it like say Chris, in a cost-effective manner for our taxpayers, so it's really good news. So nothing further? Okay. May I have a motion to authorize the town manager to execute an amendment to the agreement between the town of Shrewsbury and Fontaine Brothers, Inc. to accept the guaranteed maximum price amendment number 4, not to exceed the sum of $26,646,174. And in accordance with the owner construction manager agreement, the total project guaranteed maximum price for the Beal Elementary School project shall be the sum of $72,640,605.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, next is just the scheduling of our next meeting. It's scheduled for February 11th, 2020, and we don't seem to need any meeting before that. So I'll just, if there's nothing further, ask for a motion to adjourn for the evening.
So moved.
Made and seconded. Evening is done. Thank you.